Hello, I'm Michael from Makers WordPress and I'm on the quest to find the best of WordPress. Today I want to show you something very interesting in the terms of hosting and hosting for WordPress. Today I will be looking into Webdock, which is an amazing, very fast server provider and a provider which supports WordPress as well. So, if you do like technical things, if you do like service, and if you want to find out about a party which has very good performance for a very good price, check this video out. In this video, I will walk step by step through Webdock and their offering, and I will also add a WordPress website using their panel. So here we are at the website of Webdock, which you can find at webdock.io. And what is Webdock actually? Well, according to their own words, they provide the next generation of virtual private servers. Basically, a virtual computer connected to the internet that you can use as a server. And on a server, you can also run WordPress. And what makes them particularly interesting is that they have data center in North America and Europe. And they're offering servers starting from a very low price. For example, you have 5 threads, which can be loosely compared to 5 cores, or you have 2.5 cores with 5 threads, 2.5 gigabytes of memory, a lot of bandwidth, some storage, and that's only for €5 a month. And in their table, you can see the Geekbench 4 score for each of the plans they're offering, and basically it's a score that tells how fast the server is or how many calculation power you have. And an interesting fact is that we can compare this to other server providers such as Filter, which has also a very fast server product, and you can see their Geekbench scores are Geekbench score of their 4th plan or 5th plan is equal to the 2nd plan of Webdock. So in that sense, they're already really fast for the price. As you can see, they're offering quite some performance for a very small fee, and that's not only the thing that's really good of Webdock. They're also offering transactional email included, so emails will be sent from the server. There are backups included in the price, the DDoS protection. They also have extensive support. They will manage your server to some extent, and a thing which is very important, especially in these days, is that they're also energy or CO2 neutral. All their energy is derived from green sources, and I think this is really great. And if you do like Docker and containers, it's also supported. So enough of the introduction. Let's go ahead and see what they're actually really about. So here I am at the login page of Webdock, and I will just be logging in using my account. So there we are. I'm logged in at the Webdock panel, and as you can see, it's pretty clean. On the right, there's the support, which is prompts available if you need them. And let's just log in and add a server here in Europe, and let's just go for the basic plan of €5 a month. And this is the test server for this video. And there we are. As you can see, it's also free to try. So I can try the server today, and I will be only billed from tomorrow. And the server is being provisioned. This will take some time to configure the server. That's not really a big problem. In the meantime, let's look at some of the other tabs available. There is an event tab, which you can see what's happening and what has been happening the latest time. And now you can see that the server is provisioned in here. You can also see what API events have been happening. They have an API, so if you're a developer, you can easily build something around. Another interesting thing to see is the support. They're available on several channels, and obviously there's a lot of documentation on how to get things running on Webdock, and also to get additional products such as more RAM, space, and so forth. And it's also possible to contact them directly. In the meantime, our server has been provisioned, and you can see all the details of my server in here. It will be placed in Helsinki. I can access the server itself by some details, and also access it over FTP or MySQL. So as you can see, Webdock is targeted at people who are technical, who know to find a way around the server, who know how to log on these various programs. So if you're a beginner, the platform is not really advised towards beginners. It's good if you know something about server administration. Well, furthermore, if you scroll down, you see a couple of events happening, the activity, and also some of these stats, but nothing has been happening or recorded yet, so there's not so much to see in here. So if you want to add WordPress in here, there are a couple of things we can do, and it's pretty easy. We can click on Manage WordPress, and it will set up WordPress. And before that, we need to install WP CLI, which is the command line interface for WordPress. And after it will add WordPress, and you don't need to log into the server itself, which is, I think, is pretty neat. And let's install WordPress. Well, we can assign it to a temporary URL. We can set up the language, give it a title, and also we're going to use an existing database. So WordPress needs a database, as you may know, and these are the details from an existing database. If you go back to our server in here, you can see that we have this database in here, and we can use that database to connect to our WordPress installation in here. So these are the same details. I will just be changing this for the sake of the exercise, and let's click on Install WordPress. So now the installation is being triggered, and there are a couple of other things you can do. You can check for updates in plugins. You can update WordPress from the panel, and furthermore, you can also harden the WordPress installation by disabling execution of PHP. So in this case, it makes WordPress more safe because PHP files cannot be executed in this folder, and the server can still write to this folder, which is used by WordPress to upload media files, plugins, and so forth. But let's just briefly look at our WordPress installation that we just added, and here we are. We added this WordPress installation, and it was actually really easy to add it using Webdock. So in a couple of minutes, we provisioned a new server, which is a powerful server for just €5 a month. And then we installed WordPress on it. And now we can even log in. And here we are. This is the basic WordPress installation using Webdock. It was that easy. I don't even need to have a domain because it has been set up at a custom domain. All right, so we managed to add WordPress on the server, and it was pretty easy to do. Let's look into a couple of the other things we can do with Webdock before we enter into WordPress again. Well, like I said, you can update WordPress, all the plugins, or update everything, including themes. But there is more into Webdock, and that is server management. Basically, all the things you can do are hidden under this red button. It's a bit hidden. I don't think it's very visible, but once you know it, it's easy to find. We have the server overview, which is the overview of this server with all the specific details we need to access this server. This we saw before. Furthermore, it's possible to easily downgrade or upgrade the server to a higher or a lower plan. Snapshots are included. 5 slots are included by default, so your server is backed 2 days back, and then also for 3 weeks it's backed weekly, and in addition you can create a snapshot on the fly, and basically a snapshot is a snapshot of your server of the time you're making it, and you can easily restore it. So it's very useful for backing up, and if you're doing something which potentially can destroy your server, you can use these snapshots to make a backup just before the moment you're doing it. Furthermore, it's possible to set up cron jobs, which are automated jobs on your server, and it's always WordPress also supports cron jobs from PHP code, but it's better to do it on server level. So in this screen, you'll be adding cron jobs. It's possible to do certain requests to a certain URL or execute a PHP script. And for WordPress, most likely you'll be doing something like this, where domain.com is the domain of your WordPress installation. And this will execute the cron jobs of WordPress in a better way, but there are a lot of articles on the internet about it. I won't go into detail further. It's also possible to execute certain scripts, and there are a couple of scripts already available by default, and it's also possible to deploy, I believe, a custom script. So you need to identify the path of the script on the server, and again, as you can see, Webdock is directed at technical users. You can also edit the cognitive files of PHP, which basically indicate how much memory PHP is using, and also how big the files can be that are uploaded by PHP. And this is also used by WordPress when you upload a plugin or when you upload an image. This is the maximum size indicated in here, and it's also possible to edit a couple of the other configuration files for PHP and MySQL, so to say. Furthermore, it's possible to add a shell user, which is basically a system user that can be used to connect to a server using SSH, which is your way to connect to your server. We can manage our databases in here and create new databases, and also possible new users. And by default, PHP-MyAdmin is also installed on the server you provide, so you can also manage your databases using PHP-MyAdmin. And then there is also a file manager. You can add FTP users, and this is not the best way actually to connect to a server, and it can be prone to hackers, but it's also possible to delete FTP users and disable it. Furthermore, there's also a file manager. It's now being deployed to the web root. Here we are with this file manager. We can also manage files on the server we just added with Webdock. And these are all the files of our WordPress installation. As you can see, this looks like a typical WordPress installation. Furthermore, it's possible to set up the domain of this server. In this case, we got a test domain, but here we can link it to a specific domain. And the thing is that basically a server is set to one primary domain, but it's also possible to add other domains to the server. So it also can provide applications running on these other domains. Then we have the SSL certificates, which are managed by the identity. So we need to add our custom domains in here. So for example, I could check this domain, and we can now see this domain is not connected to this server yet. So I need to use a domain registration. I'm using Cloudflare, to point to the IP address of this server, and then it will work. It's good that these checks are in here, and the check is really fast, so I like it. Furthermore, a really nice thing is that you can connect Postmark to it. So again, I can add my domain, and then it will give a couple of details, which I need to add in my domain settings. Again, this I need to do it my domain registration part, where my internet domain is registered, and then I can send email using Postmark. That's really interesting because Postmark is an email service to send emails such as password reset email and other kinds of emails, which is also used by Wordpress, and which is proven to be very reliable. And emails sent by Postmark are usually delivered in your inbox, so they are really a good party for that. And included into the plans of Webdock, so you don't pay extra for it. So I think this is really nice. The only drawback I see is that I can just connect it to one domain, so it seems that one domain is related to one server, and if I want to have more domains on one server, it's harder to set up from this interface. I haven't tried it, but it looks like it is. Well, manage WordPress is also the screen we saw, and again, it's not really possible for me to install multiple WordPress installations here on this single server. But a good thing to know is that you can combine a Webdock server with other control panels I've reviewed, such as GridPane, RunCloud. So you can use the power of Webdock and also the high quality versus price of Webdock, and use a panel which is easier and better to use and has more features. But still, I think Webdock is a nice panel. And the last feature they have is the bolt card, and you can install bolt card on this domain to have some additional protection, and it will. This is a VPS provider, but you get much more than a VPS. You get a lot of tools to manage your VPS, to install a lot of things, to install WordPress, to get SSL certificates at databases, manage your files, manage config, and you don't need to log into your server using SSH. So this is really, I think, is great for the price you're paying, because I'm paying, this is only like €5 a month for 5 threads and 2.5 gigabytes of RAM. That's really inexpensive. That's 2.5 times less expensive than the major other VPS providers out there. So here I'm at the account tab. There are some details blurred out, but in the account tab it's also possible to create an API token. Like I said, they have an API, so you can integrate Webdock with your applications and build a whole application around it. So in that case, if you're a developer, you can build your own hosting service around Webdock. You can invite team members and give them access to your service, add keys, which can be used to access your service again, and also add scripts, which can be executed on your service. Set up some monitoring of your service, so you will get these messages like send an email to my email address every 20 minutes and do a check, so ping the server and so forth. I think it's really nice. Well, you can also connect Webdock to Cloudflare, and then you can connect your own domains to Webdock. It's a bit outside the scope of this video to explain how that works, but basically you have to connect your Cloudflare account to it, and then these domains become available. Really nice again. So there's another thing I want to show, and that's how to connect your domain to a Webdock server. And I'm using Cloudflare, which is a very good party to get your domains at. You cannot register domains, but you can register domains at, for example, namecheap.com, and then transfer them over to Cloudflare. They're one of the most cheapest platforms for having your domains. Cloudflare, and they also offer a lot of other tools to speed up your website. Nevertheless, I'm logged in Cloudflare, and I'm watching my domain make it WordPress, and I can manage the DNS settings in here. And connecting a domain to Webdock is pretty easy. You need to fill in the domain. In this case, I'm using a subdomain host.makeitwork.press, and I'll be using the IP address of this server in here, and won't proxy it. And then hit save. In Webdock, I can go to server identity and change my main domain. I need to check it, and well, it is okay. And I can now set the identity. And then if I visit this, we'll be seeing the default WordPress installation. So I think that's really nice. So that's how you can add your domain to a server. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. So you can have applications running up in no time. One other thing I want to mention is that Webdock out of the box is not optimized for WordPress. It still is pretty fast because the servers are powerful, but if you're going to use one of these control panels which has built-in WordPress optimizations, it will run a lot faster. For example, caching is not set up. You need to manually set up it yourself. But once you get it running, you can make WordPress pretty fast on it. So I think Webdock is a really nice provider. Performance-wise, they're also doing really well. By the way, you can also see the resources used per server if you switch these tabs in here. Nevertheless, I think they're offering a great service, and if you compare their Geekbench scores, which say a lot about the performance, to some other providers, such as Filter, which I think is really good, you see you already get a lot of performance for half or a quarter of the price even. So I think it's really an interesting party to try out. I think they also have a couple of drawbacks, and one of the drawbacks is that you still need to do a lot of server management yourself. So if you want to add SFTP users, you need to get into the server and adapt some things. If you want to change your PHP version, it runs 8. You need to go into your server and change these things manually, which may be a bit cumbersome for these simple mundane tasks. So I think the panel is nice, but it's still also limited. So to get the most out of Webdock, you need to add some scripts or some configurations, go through the documentations a couple of times. But once you get the hang out of it, I think they're offering a lot of value for the price. And again, they can be integrated with control panels, which are also better in running WordPress. I put also a link to the best control panels in my video, in the description of my video below. And as you can see, you can easily try them out for 1 day for free. So if you like the setup of Webdock, you can go to their website and sign up for an account and try them out and see if they're really that good. So I hope you're as happy as Webdock as me. This is, I think, really an amazing provider. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them below. There's also a link to Webdock in this video. And well, what you're waiting for, let's try Webdock and see if it suits your needs.